Make sure your microphone's on. We're going to go ahead and get started. Call this meeting to order, the meeting of the Robla School Board on October 6, 2022. If you will all join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, moving along on the agenda. Why do we not have the? I'm sorry. Moving on the agenda. Report of action taken in closed session. There was no action taken in closed session. Moving along to the adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as is?
Second.
It's been motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The agenda has been adopted. Moving on to section 4, communications. Public communications. This is a time when individuals wishing to address the board on any non-agenda items which are of interest to the public and within the board's jurisdiction may do so during this time. The board may not act upon items presented during public comment, but may briefly respond to statements made, ask a clarifying question, or refer speakers to district staff or the resources. We do have a procedure in this. Please, if you want to comment in person, please fill out a request to be heard and give it to our board assistant here, Mr. Ramon. Your name will be called during the public comment agenda item during the specified time. Comments are limited to 2 minutes. If you plan to submit one online, you can do so via assembly or Gambit meetings, or and enter your name and address. We do have another system here. I'm going to skip to that because that's what that's a little bit more pertinent. We have to submit a comment on YouTube. Type your comment into the live chat. Superintendent will share the comment with the board as appropriate. So you have a couple options on assembly, but the most common one is the YouTube chat. So we will pause for a minute and see if there is anyone in person or online that would like to make comments. And I'll rely on you to tell me when.
Okay. Looks like we're not seeing any comments.
Okay. Then we will move right along to item 4B, reports. Robla Education Foundation. I am not seeing anyone.
I didn't get anything.
Robla Teachers Association. No. Classified School Employees Association. Superintendent.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to officially welcome Mr. Fajardo to his first board meeting. We're really pleased to have you. We are, Ramon is already, how many weeks in? This is your 2 weeks. Yeah. And the transition has been very smooth. So I am grateful to him already in the support he is receiving. And I know that I'm receiving from him. And I know that the board will find him to be extremely efficient and helpful as well. So Ramon, welcome. I'd like to talk a little bit about the Parent Empowerment Dinner that took place on Monday night at Main Avenue School. It was great to be inside again instead of under the tent. The food was wonderful. I want to acknowledge Claudia Medrano and all of our kitchen staffs for all the work they put in to create the wonderful dinner for parents that night. We had a mariachi band. We had dancers from Glenwood School. We had beautiful art on display that was reflective of the Latino cultures that we serve here in the Robla School District. Our speaker was Kathy Rodriguez from the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce here in Sacramento, and she talked to parents about her journey to success and gave parents some great advice about supporting their children in their educational journey. Thank you, of course, to Mr. Roberts and his team for all the work that they put in to make these events successful. And this event was part of our month-long celebration of Latino Heritage Month here in the Robla School District. And we've also put together some great resources for teachers that we know they've been using in the classroom as well. So that was a really great evening. Moving to P3CC, I will just remind everyone that Robla School District is part of a collaborative along with a number of other districts in the state of California. This work is facilitated by a company called California Educational Partners. Our lead in the group is Mr. Penman, who helps the team work together, and we meet regularly throughout the school year. This is our third year in P3CC. The goal of P3CC is to bridge the worlds of preschool and elementary grades. And I think we've been making some really great progress already. We're focused specifically on math instruction and are working with some important researchers to do that work. I would like to name the team because it's a really wonderful team that we have doing this work. And it's a great cross-section of people who work here in Robla to make sure the right voices are at the table. So the collaborative team is Hallie Hester, a classroom teacher here at Robla, Shannon Cannon, who is our early childhood professional learning support teacher, Lindsay Hall, who is a professional learning support teacher, longtime teacher in the district, Hina Sami, who is a preschool teacher, Lorena Poon, who is also a preschool teacher, Janine Marcoux, who is our early childhood director, Mr. Penman, of course, and myself. We recently attended a collaborative in Burbank. We were there for 2 days, and we did a lot of work planning for the future, as well as a lot of getting down to the details of what we will do on our professional learning day on November 1st. So thank you again to Mr. Penman. Thank you to the team. Lots more to come in this work. It's going to be a big shift in how we do math instruction and math assessment in the district. And I think it's going to be a really good step in the right direction for all of our classrooms. Would just like to remind everyone that Dennis Boyd's services are coming up on October 14th and 15th. I sent some information out in an email to everybody this week. All are invited. The burial is on the 14th and the celebration of life is on the 15th if you're able to attend. And if you need those details again, I'm happy to send them to you. Just so that the public knows, we are moving towards the process of appointing a member to Mr. Boyd's seat, since we had no one file for the seat by the election day deadline. And we will be announcing a board meeting where that will be happening, and the board will be talking to some possible candidates for that work. Finally tonight, just reminding everybody, I don't think anybody's forgetting, but fall break is happening in the Robla School District next week, October 10th through 14th. We're going to be doing some maintenance projects, some IT things while everybody's gone. But teachers and students will be able to take a break. And I will say that I am taking advantage of this time. My wife and I recently celebrated our 40th wedding anniversary, and we're going to celebrate that by taking a cruise. So I will be gone next week and the following week. But I leave you all in great hands because I know you all do a great job, even if I'm not here. Okay, that's my report.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, moving on to board member reports. Trustee Devine.
I would also like to welcome Ramon to Robla School District, and I'm sure you're going to do excellent. You were trained by the best. And nothing else to report.
Trustee Cardona.
Nothing to report.
Trustee Duluth.
Nothing to report.
Okay, and me. I had the pleasure of attending our Terrific 10 luncheon yesterday, and it was absolutely wonderful. And I look forward to doing more. Found that we have wonderful kids here, and it is just awesome to see them. Sometimes when they're a little shy and they start opening up, and you learn so much about them, and they learn so much. It was just a wonderful event. So, just had a wonderful time. Thank you for inviting me. I have nothing else. So we will move on to section 5, presentations, starting with our summer camp Freedom School update with Daryl Roberts, our friend and partner.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Evening.
Well, welcome to Ramon. Ramon has already been a part of our Robla family. He helped join that year event. Sorry wasn't there that night, and I looked at Ramon and said, you're in charge. He didn't leave, but congratulations. It's a pleasure to be before you this evening, but I'll be honest with you, I have a moment where I have to take to respect the absence of my friend as well, your friend as well. Never done a presentation before in Robla's, my history with Robla without Dennis and Craig. So I'll be honest with you, there's a part of me that says I miss him. He was also a very strong opponent for freedom. So, Lieutenant, thank you very much for allowing me to be here this evening. Daryl Roberts, co-founder, CEO, and I have the privilege tonight to bring. I brought our entire team. I didn't know how big the meeting would be tonight, so I brought the team just in case they had questions, and I, of course, know how to answer them. But I wanted to make sure our team members who could answer them, as well as our values are here. Jacqueline Kendrick, who followed behind me, cut work, and our friends from Innovative Bridge and schools. Innovative Bridge, who did our evaluations. We'll kind of go. Let's see. Our 2022 CF Freedom School this year. As always, my name is the school district and sponsored by Robert Chandler Center to the Children Defense Fund. This is our 10th year with Robla, 6th year partnering with Freedom Schools. So it's a pleasure. Your part and ranking added something to the picture of our kids, I took our kids one of our camp trips. As you know, it's I think the first time we do a presentation it's rooted in the civil rights era, 1964 freedom, more free. Probably in Mississippi, state of Mississippi. But it was the unwilling with those in that community and figure out a way how to connect income. Doing some of us freedom riders coming in, border education, border registration, life. In that time, they created what we call freedom schools. Our education director, Jack Kendricks, now for almost 5 years, really has a responsibility in our education. One.
He didn't want me. There we go. Now I got action. Action. He was trying to quiet my voice now. So as I was saying, the Freedom School movement is based all in literacy and education. There are 5 pillars of education that CDF, the Children's Defense Fund, models their program after. High standards, first and foremost, that as children of color, they can meet educational high standards. And so we set our standards high so that our children have something to reach for and achieve, goals to set. Literacy is important. Reading is power. Not only just the reading component of it, but understanding what you read and being able to make informed decisions based on the information you gather. Culture, knowing who you are, where you come from, and how you fit into the literacy helps children find themselves, helps to build self-esteem and great character development. Learning community, being part of a community that values learning. All of our Freedom School sites, especially our Robla site, is all about creating a community that values and cherishes and nurtures learning of all sorts, And then our parents, nothing that we can do can be done without our parents. And one of our just personal philosophies is that the rate that we love on our kids and our children and our scholars is the same rate that we have to love on our parents. We have to bring our parents along for the ride so that as our children are learning, our parents are learning what they're learning, and everybody develops new skills. I have that remote. One of the components of Freedom Schools, which is probably one of my favorite, is our servant leader interns. Our servant leader interns are key to the entire summer. We seek out young future educators, future social workers, future community workers, policymakers, folks that want to work with children and have an impact in their community. The best thing about this program is that we get the opportunity to train them on educating children, how to educate children from diverse backgrounds, how to educate children in this community, in our communities, children of color specifically. One of the things that we do is we spend about 55 hours sending them through the Children Defense Fund training that focuses on curriculum, after school enrichment, how they use their voice, which we call social action, how you make a difference in your community. We teach them about the civil rights movement. We teach them about cultural dichotomy. We teach them about educational influences and the importance of literacy. We also then follow that up with an additional 80 hours of training that specifically is done by Roberts Family Development Center and our community partners, where we are honing in on classroom management techniques. We're honing in on the community that we're serving. We're honing in on restorative justice practices, conflict resolution, parent engagement and empowerment. Our parents are key to whatever we do with their children. Why do we do this? Why is summer learning and engagement? It's important because our goal is to close the achievement gap for children of color, to lower summer learning loss. If we can have children suffer no learning loss over the course of the summer, we're a success because they're starting the next school year where they left off. If we get children to read a level above, a grade level or two, we're hitting the stars because they've been engaged and now they're excited and ready to keep that going for the fall. And then social emotional learning. We know that if children are not social and emotionally sound, they're not available to learn if they're tired, if they're stressed. And so we offer an opportunity for them to learn how to handle the environment that they're in and still be able to learn. Our target population is children of color, children eligible for free and reduced lunch, disproportionately impacted by summer learning loss. Again, all the way back to the Freedom Schools movement and historically children of color receiving an equitable education and educational opportunities. So I am going to turn it over as we talk about what it looked like this summer at Robla to our program manager for Robla, Blake Cudworth.
Thank you, Ms. Kendricks. Again, a little bit taller than her. So my name is Blake Cudworth. I am honored to be here tonight. I have been working with Roberts Family Development Center for a little over a year. And as Mr. Kendrick said, I am our program coordinator at the Robla elementary site that we had over the summer. We also did have one at Taylor. The data you're seeing here is from both schools combined. And speaking to what Ms. Kendrick said previously, we do have a large concentration of the students that we're working with who are eligible for free and reduced lunches. And then as well, 12% of the students that we served were either receiving or eligible for special ed services as well. We have a breakdown of the ethnicity of the students that we served as well. We had a very diverse group of children with us over the summer, the largest percentage being Latino, but a wide range that was representative of the district of Robla. We had 145 total scholars enrolled between our two sites. We'll see the breakdown by site in a moment. 7.5 hours a day, meaning 225 total program hours for each child in the program. 109 of those scholars were enrolled in the Robla School District. We did have with our partnership the ability to bring in some scholars from other districts to also have them experience what Freedom Schools is like. And we certainly were appreciative of scholars from both in the district and out of the district. Moving on to specifically by the site, as I said, I was here at Robla Elementary. We had 62 scholars enrolled. A little over half of those scholars were returning from previous summers. You would see that as well with Taylor Street Elementary, that a little over half of them were returning from previous summers. We find that mix of new students and old students really gives us a great opportunity to teach those new students, all the older, more experienced students that have been in the program. The people who have already been in the program are able to sort of be near peer mentors, or actually peer mentors that are able to keep those students engaged. Thank you. And that energy stays high when you have kids who know what they experienced and have done this before, and you're also scholars. We do see not a huge percentage, about half as well of our scholars are able to complete the post survey. There was some difficulties with COVID towards the end of the summer. There were some issues with COVID towards the end of the summer that did prevent some of our scholars from being able to complete those surveys. Here is our schedule that we held every single day of Freedom Schools, and you see one of our scholars who was in the program at Robla this summer. Students would arrive in the morning between 7:30 and 8 a.m. They would get a nutritional breakfast that helped them feel ready for the day. We then had a bit of a modified schedule, as it says here, from what we did in previous summers, as we looked to accommodate the program that the Robla district was also housing within each of the schools. So we had 2 Harambe days during the day, which we usually do once a day. I'll talk a bit about Harambe in a moment. But we did one in the morning that also involved the scholars. We did one in the morning that involved scholars in both programs, and so even scholars who were not enrolled with us at Freedom Schools were able to get an idea of this engaging experience that we had. After we finished that morning time, we would have our morning activities, which changed depending on the day. Monday and Wednesday would be our morning activities. Tuesday and Thursday would be our social action. And then we would continue those until lunchtime, again, getting that nutrition, getting the energy up for our scholars before getting into a second Harambe with just the scholars enrolled in Freedom Schools, before we got into our integrated reading curriculum, which is really the focal point of our program, and dismissal as we sent the kids off back to their families at the end of each day.
Before things move slide,
Yes.
I just want to add, right, the modified schedule. We took the integrated reading curriculum, which you see on there is at 1 o'clock. Generally, that's the first thing that children do in the morning. That time frame is 1 hour and 45 minutes, and it's designed to really immerse children in books, in literature, in learning, but also cooperative learning groups. It's an opportunity to talk about family dynamics. It's an opportunity for them to see themselves in the literature. We swapped that, like Blake said, into the afternoon because a lot of our scholars were coming from the district summer program. They were coming in the afternoon. And what we had discovered from the year prior is that a number of students missed out on IRC by having that in the morning. So we flopped it to the afternoon to create an opportunity for more students to participate in the IRC than we had in summer 2021. I'll just kind of touch on it and I'll let Innovation Bridge kind of dive into it. It posed some challenges, right? Because after lunch, you're full, you've played, right? You're on the downslope. And so it takes a hit in terms of the fidelity of the Freedom Schools process by switching that. We for sure were able to have way more children participate in Harambe by doing it for the full school in the morning, and incorporating all of the students that were coming to summer, whether they were doing Freedom School or regular summer school. But the impact, I think, that we saw on the fidelity to the integrated reading curriculum and that 1 hour and 45 minutes, we'll see more along the line. But I think that it is something to note that we flipped around the schedule. And so where you see morning activities, those are normally activities that we did in the afternoon. So our kids were gardening in the morning, which is great because you get, morning sun versus afternoon sun. So you get better plants. But again, we had some children, because they were in the summer program, that actually missed out on some of the enrichment activities and had full days of just learning, right? Because you come from one summer school program and then you hop right back into reading again. So I just wanted to note, what the modification was and why we made the modification in the schedule.
Thank you for including that. So now we will move on to Harambe. As we said, this was split during the day, where we had a morning session and an afternoon session. As is in quotations here, Harambe is a Kiswahili word, which means let's pull together. It's a great chance for us to build our sense of community with the scholars. And we kind of like to compare it to a roller coaster where you kind of have these build up and releases of energy so that kids can feel energized for the day, but still be grounded back into the activities before they leave. So that morning one was all about quick hitting excitement, all kids from both programs being able to sing and play instruments that some of them created. We'll see a couple pictures of those later on, but just really getting them to build up that energy. And then the afternoon Harambe is where we got more of our traditional Harambe components, read aloud guests. You can see this picture here is Principal Darren Caff from Robla Elementary. He came and was one of our guests. We had a few other school faculty as well as some other members of the community involved in our read aloud components of our Harambe. There are also cheers and chants is a huge thing that our scholars love to do. Currently, I'm working with some scholars here at Robla Elementary in the after school space. And when they come to us each day, they are singing our songs from cheers and chants before they even see our faces, because it's just what they love to express themselves through. And so that was something that was amazing to see throughout the summer as well. And so when we get to the end of Harambe, as I said, we kind of want to, although it's been building all this energy and this excitement, make sure that scholars are also prepared for what's going to happen throughout the rest of the day, and that they feel grounded and that they can be heard and understand what's coming next. I think I actually went to, no, okay. So next up is IRC. Typically that would be after Harambe. Again, that is something that we flipped to the afternoon to accommodate more students. When it comes to our integrated reading curriculum, there is 6 weekly themes that really are reflected in the text in the books that the kids read throughout. Those all start with the phrase, I can make a difference in my. They can make a difference in their self, in their family, in their community, in their country, in their world, and with hope, education, and action. These are more than just statements. These are really a huge part of becoming self-empowered, becoming a member of the community who is looking out for all as well. And it's something that these scholars often take from the summer, is that they didn't really know that they had a voice before they came to us, and they got this experience, and now they feel like they can be successful and they can do great things. The texts, the books that the kids read have a bunch of really amazing stories that teach them about folks and families that may be in a similar situation to their own. We try to make them culturally relevant and exciting for the scholars so that they can feel like this story isn't just another assignment. It is something that they can be proud of and engage in. We see a few of our scholars here with some of the crafts that they made. After they do read those books, they also have these cooperative group activities that they do together. This is a chance for scholars to learn to cooperate, work together, create things as a group in ways that they often don't during their regular school day, and really just show off their own personality and creativity. And writing is also a huge component as well. It's one thing to be able to read, but we did see a lot of kids be very feeling like their growth in their reading happened throughout the summer, but as well with creative writing, writing for a purpose, and things of those sort. The morning activities, as I said, were on Mondays and Wednesdays. Something really special about our morning activities is that each staff member gets to choose which topic they will be facilitating, and we find, and we call those our SLIs, that them being able to develop their own curriculum with our guidance really gets them more engaged in what they're teaching than if it were to just be some randomly assigned thing. And we had a number of different themes like STEM, arts, sports, health and wellness. At Robla Elementary, a few of these things ended up getting into our showcase, and at Taylor Street actually, at the end of the summer, where scholars were able to show off all the amazing things they did in these morning activities. And I really love our gardening, which Ms. Kendricks mentioned a moment ago. It also tied into our social action topic, as scholars were able to learn how to compost, how to garden, all of those different things. We see some scholars making solar s'mores in the bottom corner there, and slime as well, different cool STEM projects. Each staff member really got to show and build those 6 weeks of one general theme becoming multiple different things the scholars were able to create and enjoy.
One of the cool things about the morning activities is that as a young person, leading a room full of 10 kids that you don't know from Adam, you now have created this curriculum, this 6-week plan of what you're going to do for activities. And we find that a lot of our servant leader interns kind of fall in love with the ability to I can show them something that I like. Oh, this isn't so bad. One of the things that we take seriously is helping to shape the teachers and the next generation of folks that are going to be in front of our kids, helping give them really basic grassroots understanding for who the community is that they're going to teach, how you do it, how the different ways you can do it. You can do it through cooperative work groups. You can do it through reading. You can do it through tactile activities. Our SLIs walk away with a real love for ultimately, right? They start out facilitating because they're not teachers, but they fall in love with the impact that facilitating young people has. And a lot of them, we hope, go on to be teachers in districts like your own, to be able to continue meeting children where they're at. Another way that we do that is with our social action. I can make a difference, helps children understand that at this age right now, where is their power? What can they make a difference in? How can they make an impact in the world that they live in? If it's small things like recycling, if it's little things like, understanding why trees are important, if it's understanding the photosynthesis process, if it's understanding farm to fork and compost and how basic things work, they then are empowered to understand how they can make a difference in their community right now. And our hope is that that helps us grow the next generation of leaders who become folks like yourself, trustees, mayors, congressmen, because they learn that they have the ability as an individual to make a difference in their world right now. And so part of what we do with Freedom Schools is what we call social action. And this year's topic was environmental justice. And so we took children through a series of six weeks of environmental justice, what that looks like, how cities are mapped out, how communities are given resources, how are resources accessible. We talked about solar power. They learned about farm to fork and gardening. They learned about global warming. They learned about how they can make a difference in all of those areas over 6 weeks. And our hope is that, some of them are instilled some of these projects and things that they've learned at home. I know I have a Freedom Schooler I was saying earlier, and we now recycle on a regular basis. We have a whole recycle bin now that we do as a family because she's making a difference. And so it's those little seeds that we plant that give children a voice that we hope, families, parents honor them making a difference in their world. What's next? Field trips. You want to take field trips? You probably have more fun than I do.
I can say our field trips were not only fun for our scholars, but for our staff as well. But we had 6 field trips, one each Friday of our 6-week curriculum, that each one had a fun component to it, absolutely, but I think also had an area for education and growth for our scholars. The first picture that you saw of all of our scholars was at Camp Pollock, which we went out to that location and had a number of games, activities, lovely food and drinks provided at that location as well. We then had, I'd say, our 2 most educational field trips of the summer as we went to UC Davis and Sacramento State. Scholars got to really envision what it might be like for them to attend one of those schools as they get older. And they also got to learn about a lot of the cool programs that they have on those campuses. I know I was with some of the scholars as we went to a 3D printing station, and we got to get little keychains that showed the Sacramento State logo. They got to, learn how something like that is made. I know for sure we had a couple of scholars that probably had never really seen anything like that. They're now very much interested in how they can, maybe 3D print something of their own, and they were asking how much they cost and all of these different things. And A lot of them got to see animals that they've probably never seen before, because the only area that they might see those is at the Sacramento Zoo, which a lot of them may not have been to. So a lot of really amazing educational pieces at those schools. And again, just a way to envision what it might be like if they were to go to one of those schools as they get older. We then had our Foothill skate rink. These kids, they can skate. I'm amazed by it every time. There was, just such a great physical component to this field trip that I think a lot of our scholars don't necessarily get as much, as they don't always have PE every day and things of those sort. But seeing, them be active, engaged. If you see, we have these red T-shirts that are in a couple of these pictures. Our scholars all got to have Roberts Family Development Center shirts that would help us, make sure that we knew where they were at, but also, of course, gives them a great keepsake from all of the beautiful memories they made over these field trips. We, of course, had a movie. We see a large tub of popcorn, League of Super Pets. The kids absolutely loved that. They wanted to see another movie as soon as it was over, of course, but we could only make it happen for one. And then to end out the summer was by far my favorite field trip, as it really should be every summer. We did a Freedom Schools finale at Martin Luther King Jr. Technology Academy in the Twin Rivers School District. And that was a chance to showcase all of the amazing things that had happened and had culminated over these 6 weeks for the scholars. So we had our largest Harambe of the summer, with families and students from not only our district, but also from the Sac City Unified School District, getting a chance to engage in that. We had some performances. The ballet or the Mexican folkloric dance that one of our staff members had been doing over the summer had a beautiful performance, as well as our step dance performance from one of our folks over at Taylor Street. And then after all of these beautiful performances and Harambe and pictures from throughout the summer and all of these things that the scholars got to do, we then saw activities, crafts, food, tents, all of these different community organizations also being a part of this finale, and it sent scholars off hopefully wanting to come back again next summer. So that is a little bit about our many field trips and the engagement we had over those 6 weeks.
The reason that I came back up, one, was recognizing that I want us to move a little quicker. But secondly, we came to Robla 10 plus years ago. Craig's insistence, as well as his recommendation, that we work with Robla around parent engagement. The next slide you see is really what we started with Robla, why we fit really well in with the Children's Defense Fund, because it talked about parent engagement, and why with this summer, the CEO of the Children's Defense Fund, Dr. Wilson Starsky, visited Sacramento because of our work in the parent engagement area, as well as our academic work, and visited Robla. Superintendent was a part of a luncheon that we had with Dr. Wilson. And that's the genesis of why we do this work. It is about the kids, it is about the exposure, but it really is about how do we engage parents in being a part of their child's academic life. So for us, that's what Freedom School is. Academically, yes. Exposure for kids, yes. But in parent engagement. And our work in the Latin Heritage Dinner, our Black Heritage, Black History program, as well as our work with the Asian Pacific Islanders community throughout the year, really focuses on families, really focuses on parents. And for 6 weeks with a facilitator, that's what we do with our parents. Try to get them to understand they too can make a difference in themselves. They too can make a difference in their family, in their community, in their country. And they have the ability to do that through action and interaction in their community. One of the things we recognized early on was that we really had to remember that Robla invests in what we do financially. And we want to make sure you saw what you got for your investment. So we enlisted the support of Innovative Bridges, Belle Reyes, Britt Irby, and Dr. Jomo Onanuju. And we asked them to work with us. I think it started 6 years ago here in Robla doing that work. And they continue to be our evaluators and try to get us to look at Freedom School holistically as an initiative, but also just as a regular practice. I'd invite them up to kind of go through that.
How y'all doing tonight? It's a pleasure to be here with you all. I'm gonna run through some of the data that we received from our scholars this summer. So beginning with our survey data, looking here at Robla Elementary, when it comes to safety, perseverance, influence, those measures on our survey, students overwhelmingly felt positive. And in certain categories like safety, ideas of like, I feel safe at school. That's huge considering what the national narrative about school safety has been. To have 97% of our scholars say yes as a result of participating in our program is tremendous. Again, students feeling that they have influence over their lives, influence at school. To have 94% up 12 basis points from pre to post is tremendous in terms of understanding some of the highlights. When we look at Taylor Street Elementary, again, in the categories of I have a voice, I know how to solve problems, I know that I'm ready for school in the fall. If anything, Freedom Schools is preparing our students to be successful throughout the school year here in Robla Unified School. Well, no, this is Robla School District. But our students at Taylor Street Elementary all improved in those categories. Now I want to transition to basic reading inventory, and you all slow me down if you need me to. I got the word from Dr. Roberts. He said we need to, so I apologize if I'm going through these a little bit fast, but the basic reading inventory, or the BRI, it assesses fluency and comprehension. We really focus our evaluation efforts on comprehension, which is a student's ability to not only read, but to read with comprehension, read and understand. In other words, I see the sign, it says stop, but I also understand what stop means, right? And what we find is that some of our students, they lack the comprehension, even though they are pretty fluent in terms of reading the words. When we look at Robla Elementary, for the most part, 70% of our scholars maintained or improved their reading over the course of the program. There's a couple of things that I want to just point out here. When you look at Scholar 1 and you look at Scholar 5, you do see some regression that happened over the course of summer, but it's important to remember for Scholar 1 was a first grade student. So it's typical to see first graders as they go throughout summer to have that. And we already talked about earlier how the IRC was happening in the afternoon time. That's also when the BRI was happening. So students are taking their post-assessment after they've already had a full day of activities. Again, for Scholar 5 is actually one of our older students, 4th, 5th grade student that was reading at a second grade level. So again, when we have students who are in older grades but have a 2, 3, 4 grade deficiency in terms of their reading, it is quite natural to see the volatility over a 6-week period between, like, on Tuesday, I might be reading at a second grade level, but on Wednesday, just depending on the words that are in the text that I'm reading, I might be reading at a first grade or kindergarten level. When we take a look at Taylor Street Elementary, again, we see similar results. 76% of our students maintained or improved their reading over the course of summer. I think we got to really go back and talk about this maintained or improved, right? Because we're not simply talking about the summer of 2022, but we're talking about the pandemic. When you look at the research tells us that our students are still suffering from pandemic loss, that across the country, across the board, students have not recovered. So the idea that a student can come into Freedom School and leave Freedom School at the same reading level or better, 76%, that's 8 out of every 10 students, then that means that we are facing the COVID learning loss head on and winning that fight, winning it fairly successfully. And so, again, you see some of our students did have some regression, but I think it's one thing that I wish I could do the BRI test with you all, because it can be a 15 to 20 minute test. And I know that does not seem long to us as adults. 15, 20 minutes goes like this. But when you're a kid and you see other students going out on break, and I'm like, we got 3 more stories to read, you was just like, hey, I'm over this cat. Get me up out of here. So some of our older students experience some of that fatigue when it comes to the BRI. And again, some of our younger students, it's just normal volatility that we see over the course of that. Did you all want me to? So I did already mention the COVID impact. I also want to say this as well, just in terms of COVID impact before I turn it back over to Dr. Roberts. But it's important that we understand that COVID, in terms of learning loss, not only impacted our students, but it impacted our instructors, right? So students are one of the things that we have noted uh, in my day job working for Touro University, is that students are learning different post-pandemic than they did pre-pandemic, and that the fatigue that we are seeing in our students, we are now seeing at a higher rate in our instructors, right? Because a lot of the things that we have been teaching our teachers in our teacher preparation program, they get into the classroom with these students who are now learning differently, and they're finding that they have to adjust, and not everybody has the skill set to be able to adjust on the fly. So I think I don't want to overstate the impact of COVID-19, but I think we have to begin to understand COVID-19 in its proper context in terms of what learning loss means for both scholar and instructor. All right, Dr. Roberts.
Dr. O. One of the things that you got to recognize is that the reason that we partnered with Innovative Bridges is because his background in academics, Bell's background as a researcher, and Britt's academic background, they each bring a perspective of understanding what we're trying to do from a holistic standpoint, both as working with the community, but also working in academics, and being real honest about us of what we're looking at, what we're doing, and how we need to begin moving forward. One of the things that we saw this year is superintendent and I talked about this being maybe the last year that we try to combine the partnership in the same way we have teachers teaching in the morning and program in the afternoon, because it really became a difficult thing for students who were in academic program in the morning to come back in the afternoon, and us recognizing that the BRI is what we focused on, suddenly telling them you have to also now focus on academics in the afternoon as well. It was tough. The other thing that we came to realize is that our not doing a normal training with the Children's Defense Fund, we had some disadvantages. We had students who didn't really appreciate and understand the Children's Defense Fund Freedom School movement. The Freedom School movement is as much as a movement as much as an educational activity. So when I say Freedom School as a movement, I mean that it encompasses all those components we talked about, plus an understanding that the young people who are there as certainly the interns, future teachers, but also presently, they're the leaders for those students. And unless you really understand, unless you have a historical perspective, and something get lost. So for us, we're looking forward to no longer doing virtual training. Our plans for this school year, some of those we've talked to the superintendent about, some of those we'll continue to talk to him about, is housing Freedom School once again on one site versus two sites. We saw that was a challenge. Secondly, early identification of the site, as well as a singular program on that site. Sometimes when you have multiple programs on a site, sometimes either competition or it becomes a bit of a congestion, cafeteria, use of the playground, things like that. And what is normally our maybe noisy time is actually academic time for somebody else. And another program then suffers or feels slighted because they feel like we're not working together. Also this year, we're hoping to identify the students in January and February so that we can begin identifying some of the needs that they have and some of the staff members who we select to work specifically with those students. Also getting teacher referrals in January and February so that, again, we are working together on identifying the students who are most in need of the literacy, fluency, academic piece that we put out as far as Freedom School. Lastly, our closer relationship with our Robla HR department. I'm of the opinion that part of our role with Robla should be identifying future teachers and administrators at Robla. Superintendent and I talked about that often. We'll be doing some things together this year that's different, but we'll be working closer with the HR department, and talk to Nicole about that as well. So looking forward to that. There's our presentation. Hopefully we didn't take too much time. If we did, sorry about that. Apologize. Any questions?
Questions?
Well, more of a comment. And one of the things I really appreciated was the way in which you were very, very, how do I want to put it, objective about taking a look at your performance. And, you know, Freedom School has enough years of really solid successes to not let a year where there were challenges for a myriad of reasons. That's not a concern to us, or at least a concern to me. What I appreciated is you took the time to look at where the areas of concern were, and you identify why they occurred, why there were challenges, and then to come up with some solutions as to how to address them. That's what that sort of assessment and analysis is supposed to be. And trust me, we recognize there are a lot of people during and post COVID who are blaming everything on COVID and not really looking at, okay, well, where are the areas where we can improve? So I very much appreciate that, and we very much appreciate the work and the relationship that we've had. And how it's grown in what you've done with Robla and for Robla. So thank you.
Yes, I was going to make a similar comment because I was looking at the data and it's trending in the right direction. But you had a few students that weren't, and you seem to be addressing those, and I like that. And I'm really interested in seeing what happens next when you do address that and get more accurate data. So I'll be looking forward to that. So yeah, very similar comments that I like the fact that you took an objective look at it, and wherever you saw an issue, you tried to fix it. So job well done. Correct me if I'm wrong. Our partnership you've been doing things at Robla for far more than 10 years.
Yeah, a little more than 10 years.
Okay.
He often says 12 years.
But yeah, I think wasn't our superintendent friend. I think it was 12.
Mm-hmm.
I've been superintendent for 13 years, and it started before that. So,
So
13.
I'm not making this up.
Yeah, because one of my first experiences was at dinner that you hosted, and my son was in kindergarten at the time. So.
Mm-hmm. Before you were a board member.
Yes.
We're responsible.
Thank you.
So at the same time this summer, of course, we were running summer camp at our schools. And I've asked Mr. Penman to just share a little bit of details of how that program worked this summer as well.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Reyes, and audience members. I did not bring my team of lawyers with me. I have to cover 5 schools. There's what happened? Is that good? No, I know, but it didn't look like that on my first page, so something happened. But it's okay. Let's see what happens on the following.
Oh, there.
There you go.
Surprise.
Here it is. You got to see the animals. Come on. So this year we gave our principals a little flexibility on what they wanted to work on as far as themes, their focuses this year. It was a pretty tough year, like they were saying, with the pandemic, and so they felt very good about what they wanted to work on per the needs of their students from what they saw in the school year with their data. So who did we serve? We served TK6. We did it from 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock, Monday through Friday. We had it at all schools, Glenwood, Maine, Bell, Robla, and Taylor. They all had their own campuses this year. The construction was over. Last year we had a couple schools working together. So everybody had their own focuses and themes. The wonderful kitchen staff gave the students breakfasts and lunch every day. And the staff that served our students were all the Robla certificated and classified staff. The number of students we served this year was 434. That was 120 less than the previous year. So like I said, you will see a little bit variation from school to school on what they did. Every school had to get their own staffing. So if people wanted to work, they worked. If people did not want to work, principals needed to persuade. So some staffs are a little bit more robust than others, but most of the kids at every school got served TK6. So at Robla School, they had 6 classroom teachers, 2 enrichment teachers, 4 classified as psychologists and social worker, and they had 61 students at their campus. Their theme this year was science. They had technology and physical education as one of their focus, literacy, writing, and science. They noticed that a lot of writing was not happening during the pandemic, so they really worked on that this school year. And so they brought it in with science, which is another thing that we did not get enough of during the pandemic, nor the real school year of the pandemic. They wanted to do more hands-on activities with science, and then they had social emotional learning as one of their focus areas. As we moved to Taylor Street School, they had 13 teachers, 4 instructional assistants. They were lucky to get all art, tech, and PE enrichment teachers. They had a social worker, and they had 72 students. Their theme was Take a Risk. Their areas of focus was math, literacy, and social emotional learning. At Main Avenue, they had 15 teachers and classified staff. They had their librarian, a psychologist, and they served 80 students. Their focus and theme was STEAM, and that's science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. Bell Avenue, they had 7 teachers, RSP speech teachers, instructional assistants, and they served 65 students. Their theme was water, water everywhere. And their areas of focus were GLAD units of water cycle, animal habitats, water conservation. They worked on foundational reading skills and math, and they worked on zones for regulations and second step. At Glenwood, they had 14 teachers. They had both DLI and EO classes, PE, library, special ed staff. They served 156 students. That was a winner for all of the amount of students that they got. Their theme was science camp. Their areas of focus was hands-on science activities, ELA and math, and social emotional learning, once again. The field trips that they got to go on this summer were Sacramento Zoo, Sequest, Arden Park, Swimming Pool, Mosac, and the IMAX Theater. And here are some photos. I think that what you'll notice on a lot of these photos is the hands-on activities that everybody was talking about. Principals were really worried about the students not always engaging together. And so this summer they really worked on having it fun and exciting for them to work on science things. And as you see there, they have a lot of activities that are surrounding science. And you see Mrs. Basher on the ground there with the kids on the floor. She's working on social and emotional learning right there. We have a lot more science things going on in the classrooms there. And then they had Dance Folklorico over at Glenwood School. And there's Mosec and some of the zoo pictures. And then once again, Dance Folklorico at Glenwood School. So if there's anything I could say about summer school, summer camp this summer was that number one, social emotional learning is heavy right now. Our students need it. Our teachers know they need it. And it's something that cannot be ignored. So they continue to work on it throughout this school year. They worked on it all summer. And it's going to be a continuation, I would imagine, the next few years. Because it's the pandemic has really caused students to not have opportunities to socialize and build community and a lot of other things that they needed. And so we're working on those type of things now. And then the other thing was all the hands-on activities in science that they were doing, which they don't always have time to in a week. And so it was nice to get some of that in to summer school for those kiddos. That's all I have. Any questions or comments?
Questions?
Did parents get to choose the location for summer school this year, or was it their home school?
It was their own school.
Okay. I just wanted to know because every school had a different aspect. So I thought like maybe kids who were more into engineering could have picked the one they wanted. So that's why I asked.
It was a good question.
How did they go about deciding what their theme was going to be?
It's always at the discretion of the teachers and the principals. Usually they collaborate and say what they want to work on throughout the summer. And that's generally how it's generated.
Oh, okay.
It's collaborative. It's not just about the principal wanting what they want. They talk about it, which is nice.
Is there a schedule to either keep the same or choose something different next year? Or can you tell me a little bit about that?
I believe
site?
Mr. Reyes has the answer to that one, which
I'll take that one, Mr. Penman. I think that it's something we haven't spent a lot of time talking about yet. Mr. Roberts hinted during his conversation, his presentation, that we've been having conversations about this summer. I think this is my perception, and again, we're in October, and we still have a lot of time to think about this, but the perception seems to be that we might be burning everybody out if we don't take a little bit of a break. We had fewer people involved in summer school this summer than last summer, and one of the thoughts is that we may not be able to staff summer school this summer with our own teachers just because everybody's gone such a long time without taking any kind of real break. So one of the thoughts we have, as Mr. Roberts said, would be to just have Freedom School be our summer school in this upcoming summer. So that's one of the ideas that we're talking about. Some of his things he presented were new to me, so we have a lot to talk about. And if we would have Freedom School, we may want to talk about more than one site, even though that's what he put on his line. But we'll talk. Daryl and I figure everything out together. So that's kind of where our thinking is right at this point, Mr. Barnes.
Thank you. Other questions, comments?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving along to item 6, the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as is?
We have, I'm sorry, Mr. Barnes. Yes, please.
I'm sorry.
We're on B,
Yeah,
5B.
I did. Sorry. Got a
But
little
we'll
side
make
there.
them fast, we promise.
Got a little side there. Okay. Item 5B, Williams UCP quarterly report.
We have nothing to report.
Okay.
That's what I was going to say.
And 5C, I did get a little excited there. So 5C, first reading revised policies for regulations and or exhibits.
This is simply our continued efforts to keep our policies up to date and reflective of current statute. So we invite the board to read through these policies over the next month, and we'll bring, of course, ask us any questions that you have during that time, and then we will bring them to you for approval at the next agenda.
Thank you. Now, moving on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as is?
So move.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Moving along to item 7, action items. 7A, waive first reading, approve revised board policy and administrative regulations 4118, dismissal, suspension, disciplinary action. Excuse me.
We are taking a little bit of a different stance on this particular board item, simply because our practice was reflected previously. We like to bring to the board a policy and give you time to read through it, a month to do that. But this is a policy that we found was missing, and we are not sure how that happened, but we do think this is a policy that does need to be put in place. And so we are asking the board tonight to consider approving it tonight. So that's the waiving of the first reading and getting this policy into place with this meeting.
Well, that answers my question, because I was like, I can't tell where this policy was different than it was before. Yeah. Now I know why.
There you go.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion or question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 7B, approve revised. I'm going to mess this up.
Equitas.
Yes, thank you. Approve revised Equitas solutions.
We'll let Mr. Lopez, if you could just say a few words about this.
Absolutely. Members of the board, Equitas Solution is the vendor that provides the district with our student information system, which is the system of record for all core student data. This contract represents a renewal of a maintenance agreement, a support agreement, but also a reduction in dependency on that vendor this year. This contract has been revised from last year given that last year was our first year using the system. We had a pretty significant support agreement in place where we were very dependent on the vendor. This year, we're reducing that dependency after conducting a significant amount of internal training.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any more comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 7C, contract with Wilkinson, Hadley, King and Company for annual audit services. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
Why don't we have Mr. Castillo say a few words about this item?
This is our auditors. Our last contract was for 3 years. So this is for this fiscal year for the following 2 years. So that's the contract, and the amount is actually about the same amount, the same amount that was in the previous years. There's a lot less transactions from the bond expenditures. So we negotiated. They were going to provide an increase, but we negotiated down. So that's what you're proving here.
And this is the second contract we've had with them, right?
This will be the second, yes, the second
Okay.
time.
How long? Because I know that every once in a while we change auditors. How often do we do that as a general rule?
Well, there's a lot. Every 5 years,
Okay.
a company needs to change the partners.
Okay.
So there's a government area code that had to change the partner. So this one I actually requested the partners be changed. So even though it's the same company, it's an accounting firm,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like lawyers. It's a different person in charge. So that's what it's going to be. This
Okay.
contract. Same name but different partner. Mhm.
So but in the past, we've changed companies.
In the past, you could change the. So I thought about that. I thought this will be the last one, and then we will review. We go for a bid for a new services for the following day.
Okay. And when that does come up, I will have more questions about that because I'm just curious about that. But that answers my questions for now. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 7D, contracts with special education agencies, NPAs. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and second. Any?
A pretty standard practice when we have students with specific needs in their IEPs. We sometimes need to contract with agencies to meet those specific needs. Mrs. Horowitz is here. I'm sure she'd be happy to answer any specific questions you would have.
Any questions?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 7E, contract with Anchor Sing Painting Company for Glenwood Elementary School waterproofing project. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion to second. Any comments?
We can answer any questions that you might have. We don't want people to get wet when they're inside Glenwood School.
All right.
Seems reasonable.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Moving to our final item, 7F, services agreement with Stephanie Hewitt for psychoeducational assessments. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any?
Mrs. Horowitz, I think maybe if you could come up, just say a few words about kind of what's happening right now with our psychologists and why this contract is necessary.
Severe lack of
Yes, exactly.
Right now, we've had an opening for a school psychologist since the start of the school year. Starting next week, another one of our school psychologists will be out on maternity leave for an extended time. I was able to secure Stephanie Hewitt, who's an independent contractor who is available to conduct psychoeducational assessments for us at this point in time to make sure that we maintain our compliance with the state regarding deadlines.
Thank you.
And we are still trying to find a psychologist. They just don't seem to exist.
No, we actually have one starting on October 17th.
Oh, well, there you go.
It is a contractor from a contracting agency, one of the other contracts that you approved this evening, but still working on direct hires. But at least for now, we will still have 2 school psychologists plus this contractor.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions?
No, not just on this note, they recently, both Cap Radio and Sacramento Observer did an article talking a lot about the challenge of providing mental health services to students, and they really focused on a lot of the districts. And, you know, to me, I had an opportunity to talk to the reporter because I'm really proud of the work that we're doing here at Robla and the work that you're doing. The fact that we're taking the step to make sure that the needs of our students are met is a big deal. So I wholeheartedly approve this or support this.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. That ends our action items section. Moving on to section 8, board member requests for future agenda item reports. Trustee Devine,
Nothing at this time.
Trustee Cardona,
Nothing this time.
Trustee DeLuce,
Nothing at this time.
and I have one that is I don't recall when the last time we did our annual or biannual vision screening, multiple vision screening. I would love an update on that, or if we did it, a report.
We can do that.
Thank you. With that, we'll bring this meeting of October 6, 2022 to a close. Thank you for attending.